And now we're going to take you to Dallas. Look, we know Dak is out. Zeke has fumbled a lot. Dalton has a concussion. And news today, Dallas has traded their defensive end, Everson Griffin, to the Lions. So sure, there are a lot of issues in Dallas, including that 2-5 record. But following the Cowboys' 25-3 loss to the Washington football team, don't blame leadership, at least according to Jerry Jones.
Does your team have a leadership void?
Where in the offensive line? Where you,
just overall, when these.
But seriously, where would you have a leadership void? Is it an experience void? Is it a talent void? Is it a leadership void? I'm not trying to be cute here. The answer is no. The answer is no.
I'm asking.
There's not a. Well, just shut up and let me answer. No.
Jerry, when you go into the locker room, what I'm asking is, do you see the intangibles?
You're not asking me that. I gave you the answer. When I go into the locker room, there's no leadership void in my eyes.
Okay.
Now that's your answer. Let's move on.
Let's move on. Clearly, he's calm, collected, and not at all irritated, well. Mr. Orlovsky. You hear what Jerry Jones says, and you think what?
Dak Prescott is realizing that this organization over the past couple weeks has in many ways been exposed. You know, we talk about Dak and the Cowboys, and oftentimes it's been like the financial ramifications of the contract, right? And it's, well, the Cowboys offered him a deal, and Dak said no. Well, maybe Dak knew more about this organization than we did, because he's got to be sitting there going, wait, maybe this place isn't right for me in my future. As you watch this, not only the team, but the organization just collapse. And how can he sit there and go, listen, I'm not there, and that place has fallen apart in more ways than just on the football field. And so he's got to be sitting there going, maybe that's not the place for me. Maybe that's not the coaching staff for me. And it's not just a one-year fix. Like, this is not, hey, when we get Dak Prescott back, everything's going to be really good. And so I think Dak is kind of taking kind of an evaluation of everything and going, you know what? Maybe I did think 5 weeks ago that I would be a Cowboy next year. But he's got every right to sit there and go, like Kirk Cousins did with the Washington football team. That place isn't right for my future. And in many ways, that organization has been exposed for way bigger issues than just the contract situation with the quarterback.
They still have the benefit, though, of playing in the NFC East. And we'll see another great matchup Sunday night. No offense, but it is against your Eagles there.
Oh,
wow.
God.
Wow.
But she's right. She's right, Dad. Can't argue. Meanwhile, the Rams suffocated the Bears all night Monday. Let's break it down how they did it. According to ESPN metrics using NFL Next Gen stats, the Rams had a pass rush win rate of 69%, their highest such rate in a game this season. The Rams got the Nick Foles all night, recording 4 sacks and 21 total pressures. The 21 pressures were their most in a game in the last 2 seasons. Poor Nick. Aaron Donald, as usual, led the way for the Rams, recording 7 pressures. Donald has 26 pressures this season, tied with Myles Garrett for most in the league. Overall, the Rams had a defensive efficiency of 94.1, their best mark in a game this season. And then this morning, Matt Nagy, Bears head coach, dealing with a lot of question marks.
We have a lot of confidence, and I have a lot of confidence in Nick right now with where he's at. Again, this is a process for us to work through, and it's not just one person. It's really not. And we think that I know from yesterday, decision-making wise and where he's at, I thought he did a good job.
Where do you feel you are as a play caller? And is that a role that you would consider giving up to Bill Lazor or somebody else on staff?
Yeah, you know, like I said, I always I look at all that, and that's the very first thing that I look at is that right now where we're at, that's not where we think it's at. I'll say this too. When you're in a little bit of a rut like we are, a lot of bit of a rut like we are right now, you have to look at everything.
Now, earlier this morning, Darren Orlovsky had this to say about the Rams' win over the Bears, tweeting out after rewatching the Monday Night Football game between the Rams and Bears, the biggest takeaway, the coaching gap between McVay and Nagy is enormous, like enormous, whatever you think it is, times it by 10. You could have just voiced it and read it to us, right? Because Dan is back with us. Right? All right, you tweeted that before we heard from Nagy, saying he will continue calling plays. He will continue to stick with Foles at quarterback. What's your reaction to the Bears not changing things up here offensively?
Yeah, they have to. I mean, this is not just a rut of this year. I mean, this rut goes back to last year, Kev. I remember talking about it to you ad nauseum. Like, this is what happened last night. You watch Sean McVay with the Rams, and when it comes to the play calling, he knows exactly who they are. And so that's all they do. Like, they do a ton of pre-snap motion. They move the pocket a ton. They use tempo, because that's what they do really well. And he never asks that football team and their quarterback, Jared Goff, to drop back pass, because it's not what they do well. I mean, that is the foundational aspect of really good coaching. And Matt Nagy, when you watch that game, they don't do anything to help their players. Like, they should run tempo on offense all the time. You know this.
Oh, yeah.
Nick Foles does it really well. Last night, they run tempo for a couple plays, and then they just stop it for absolutely no reason. Like, that's an example of a coach not doing the things that they do really well. And then they'll go for a stretch where the Bears will play drop-back football. The Bears are built a lot like the Rams, so to speak. The quarterback likes to be out of the pocket. The offensive line's not great at it. And they'll just drop-back pass and go, hey, Nick, play this way. That's not what you're good at. A coach should never ask you to do the things that you're not good at, especially against a team that has Aaron Donald doing it. And so that's when you watch that game, that's the biggest takeaway. Is like, man, Sean McVay knows exactly who they are. And Matt Nagy is still struggling to figure out what the Bears are good at, how to do it a ton, and what the Bears struggle with. And that is way bigger than just Nick Foles has got to play better or Mitchell Trubisky's got to play better. That goes to the organization going, you know what? Our head coach right now isn't doing a good enough job for our players.
Take advantage of your talent. We know this. Foles loves up-tempo. We'll see if that changes here as the Bears host the Saints this Sunday. Dan, always great.
Still ahead, the most famous and perhaps aligned with the Bucs. It's a one-year deal laden with incentives that could make it worth at most $2.5 million. Brown's then eligible to practice with the team until he's finished serving that 8-week suspension. But the expectation is that he will be on the field week 9 when the Bucs host the Saints. Now, if you've forgotten how Brown got to this point, there was the short stint with the Raiders in which he played no games, had the frozen foot, the helmet issue, and also the released Gruden phone call. After his Oakland release, Brown signed with the Patriots. That lasted a game before allegations of sexual misconduct. The Patriots released him. Then in January, Brown was arrested on charges of burglary and criminal mischief. He was then given an 8-game suspension for violating the league's personal conduct policy. To the football side of this story, here's Brown's old and also new quarterback.
Certainly, I'm happy for Antonio to get an opportunity to resume his career, and he's put a lot of time and energy into working on a lot of things in his life, and I know he's excited to play football. So everyone's going to earn a role on our team, and I know that's his mindset too. Again, I think receiver position is really a position of strength on our offense, and how Antonio fits into that is going to be up to him and the role that he can create for himself, which is, which we all know what he's capable of when he's playing.
Tom, do you feel as though you've put your reputation out for Antonio, and does he understand that?
He's his own individual. Everybody has the opportunity in life. And again, I'm just happy that he's got another opportunity to play in the NFL. It's a great league. And I've been in it for 21 years. It's blessed me with a lot of things in my life. And I love playing football. I know he does too. And anytime you can add another player to that mix, certainly of Antonio's caliber, it's only going to help all of us grow, be better. I'm excited to get on the practice field to see what we can make of it.
We bring in our Dan Orlovsky, who is literally here with us. Look, Brady's had the offensive weapons, but they've also had a slew of injuries, including Chris Godwin. How do you see AB fitting into this offense?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I want to, when we say fit, it should always be can he excel in the offense, right? That's what these organizations should be doing. And if you watch the Bucs this year, they're doing two things really good on offense. They're doing a ton of play action pass, and then Brady's really become a deep ball thrower. Two things that AB does really well is be utilized in the play action pass and then run downfield and catch big play action passes or go routes. And so this is a place where he can thrive. This is a place where both talent-wise and scheme-wise, when it comes to the quarterback and what they're trying to do, Antonio Brown will step in right away and be like, oh, I'm at home. I'm comfortable with everything they're asking me to do. This is not going to be something where it's just going to be a pitch and catch offense for Antonio Brown. They're going to utilize his explosiveness, his suddenness, his ability to run routes, the matchup nightmare that he is. That has become what Tampa Bay is doing offensively. So it's much more than just a fit. It's an ideal place for Antonio Brown to go thrive. And if he's able to kind of just step in and be part of that locker room, he'll be productive right away.
What's your confidence level in that actually happening?
It usually would be very high, but the fact he couldn't do it last year with the same quarterback in a much more structured organization, gives me a little pause on that.
Speaking of offense, by the way, is there an offense in Chicago?